When you enter any expansion draft, there's always people that are going to be taken by surprise, literally and figuratively, and other players will ring a bell but would not be taken by trade. So unprotected players or players that are past their due date or past their prime are always a big part of an expansion draft. So today we're going to be looking at the 1970 NHL expansion draft. Now in recent months I've been featuring a lot of Buffalo Sabres and Vancouver Canucks podcasts, especially Vintage One. We're going to talk about a lot of the players that have been featured on my channel since probably October of last year. There's been quite a few. Now the 1970 NHL expansion draft filled the needs of the two new teams in the NHL, the Buffalo Sabres and the NHL Vancouver Canucks. No confusion with the WHL version. Now, each team was allowed to pick up to 20 players. Now, some of these players were eventually long-time skaters with their selectees, while others were eventually traded or were not kept for whatever reasons. Now, we're going to break down the draft, and it was kind of ironic, ladies and gentlemen, that the first person taken to the draft, the great Tom Webster from the Boston Bruins, was eventually traded to the Detroit Red Wings soon after, June 10th, 1970, actually, in exchange for goalie Roger Crozier. So he was drafted and traded on the same day, ladies and gentlemen. So Tom Webster, again, a good skater, but Roger Crozier put up some really nice numbers for Buffalo, helped into a Stanley Cup in 1975, was extremely consistent, a good role model for the many players on the squad. Now, the first pick for Vancouver was a talented defenseman by the name of Gary Doak. Now, he played 2 years with Vancouver, but eventually found his way back to Boston later on. Now, the third pick by Buffalo, of course, was Al Hamilton, who eventually was taken by the Rangers. And of all people, he was a face of the franchise for many years. Orland Kurtenbach was taken by Vancouver as a number 4 pick from the New York Rangers. Now, we're seeing a trend. The first few selections of the 1970 season were from the elite of the original 6 of the NHL. That was the year Montreal did not make the playoffs, and the Rangers did well. Donnie Marshall, the number 5 pick by Buffalo, was taken from New York. He only played 1 year with Buffalo, but he had put in 17 seasons in the Habs system in various squads. Now, number 6 was Ray Cullen, who was taken by Vancouver, Minnesota. Then Tracy Pratt, taken for the Penguins by the Sabres. Pat Quinn, taken by the Leafs by Vancouver. Jimmy Watson, taken from Detroit by the Sabres. The great Roger Crozier was 10th overall, taken from the Flyers for Vancouver. Francois Lacombe, taken by Buffalo from Montreal. Darryl Sly, a defenseman, was taken by Vancouver from Minnesota, number 12. Former Hab Phil Goyette was taken from St. Louis by Buffalo with the 13th pick. Then Jim Wisty was taken by the Blackhawks from Vancouver as a centerman. Reggie Fleming, that great fighter and talent, was taken by the Sabres from the Flyers with number 15. Danny Johnson, a center, was taken by Vancouver from Toronto. Mike McMahon, taken from Pittsburgh by Buffalo, the defenseman. Now the great Barry Wilkins, a very popular player in Vancouver, was taken by Boston with the 18th pick, a defenseman. Skip Crakey, a center, was taken by Buffalo by the Kings. Ralph Stewart, a center, was taken by Vancouver from Montreal. Jean-Guy Lagacé, a defenseman, was taken by Buffalo from Pittsburgh. The great Mike Corrigan was taken by Vancouver from the Kings. Craig Cameron, right winger, taken by the Sabres for the Blues. Wayne Mackey, the subject of our famous podcast, the Mackey-Teddy Green incident, was taken by Vancouver from St. Louis. Chrissy Evans, a defenseman, taken by Buffalo from Toronto. 26 was Ed Hatum, a right winger, taken by Vancouver from Detroit. Doug Barry, a rear guard, taken by Buffalo from Pittsburgh. Number 28, Paul Pupil, a defenseman taken by Vancouver from the Red Wings. The great Jerry Mean, a left winger, taken by the Sabres from the Flyers. Ron Ward was a defenseman taken by Vancouver from the Maple Leafs. Paul Debauche, defenseman taken by the Sabres from the Blackhawks. John Shella was taken by Vancouver from the Habs. 33 was Brian Perry, a left winger, taken by Buffalo from the Seals. Bob Dillabaugh was a center taken from Vancouver from the Seals. Howie Bernard, taken by Buffalo from Oakland, but was traded. Gart Risotto, centerman taken by Vancouver from Chicago. Dunk Wilson, the great goalie, taken by Vancouver from the Flyers. Rocky Fire, a goalie taken by the Sabres from Montreal. Charlie Hodge, a goalie taken by Vancouver from the Seals. And of course, Gary Edwards, a goalie taken by the Sabres from the Blues. Now, 3 trades happened from the draft picks. Again, Tommy Webster, Sabres, traded Detroit for goalie Roger Crozier. Craig Cameron was traded by the Sabres to the Blues for Ron Anderson. And Howie Bernard was traded to the Seals in exchange for cash. Now, Gary Edwards, taken by Buffalo, was loaned to Kansas City Blues for the 71 season before being traded to the Kings, because obviously with Crozier wasn't much room. Now, Bob Dillabaugh played 1 game for the Canucks American Hockey League affiliate Rochester and was later loaned to the Phoenix Roadrunners for the remainder of the 71 season. So, if you want to find out more about these individual players, put their names in a podcast search engine you see above on my channel. We have to be reminded as well that most NHL goalies that were taken in this draft, it was slim pickings, but Charlie Hodge was the big Vancouver, reclamation project, because he had played with the Seals right after the Habs, had some really, really rough numbers with them. But having a veteran like Charlie Hodge, first year in Vancouver, and also Dunk Wilson, he played his heart out those first years with Vancouver. But having somebody, a role player like Orland Kurtenbach, really helped. But for me, the big thing was Webster for Crozier, because, Roger stood on his head for Buffalo in a lot of those early games. As a lot of people know, that inaugural season for Buffalo was better because Roger was in the lineup. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing with our expansion podcast on NHL years of selectees, expansion drafts, let us know with a like, comment, and subscribe. We're nearing closer to the NHL Final Four. We'll be doing some previews very soon once we determine the Vegas, Colorado, and Boston, New York series. It looks pretty well right now. Tampa Bay, New York, Vegas, Montreal, yet to be completed. But I think that Vegas-Montreal series will be one for the ages, because Vegas, having a certain member of my family on the Vegas team, there'll be a lot working. So if you know who William Corey is, you'll know the fact the whole family in Quebec and the Maritimes are very proud of this young man, the hitter as we call him. Very, very proud. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, keep your stick in the ice. Have a good evening. Bye.